You're about to enter an exciting time in your little one's development where you are exploring the wonderful world of food. And this can be a really fun experience as you watch your little one tasting new things for the first time.
And messy.
And messy.
And messy.
Yes. How many times have we ended up with sweet potato everywhere? But also too, obviously, there are things that happen once we start introducing finger foods or even before then. So I know that choking is something that is on top of most people's minds, but I think there is a lot we still need to learn and understand around what does choking actually look like and what would we even do in that situation.
So when it comes to choking, we need to remember that choking is different to gagging. Gagging is completely normal. You'll notice that when you start to introduce solids to your child, finger foods, all of those sorts of things, that they'll pop it in their mouth. They will gag.
Parsnip.
Exactly. That they will have that red face, the watery eyes. They'll have that nice strong cough, and they might vomit it up, and then they'll pick it up and eat it again, which is disgusting, but completely
But it's
normal.
part of the process.
It is. So gagging's absolutely fine. Choking is not. Choking is when something is actually lodged in their airway, and depending on how severe it is, that they will need our help to be able to get that out. But before we go into that, I'd love to talk a little bit about prevention of choking, because prevention is better than cure.
Wow. Yeah.
However, accidents do happen and kids love to shove things into their mouths. And it's completely developmentally normal for them to do that. It's how they explore the world. Kids need to get out there, they need to eat dirt, it's good for them.
Yeah.
But obviously we need to keep the small objects out of reach. So basically anything in your home that can fit through the inside of a toilet paper cardboard tube, certainly a child can choke on. They have very small, narrow and soft airways. So we need to be careful to remove these things out of their reach, which can be really tricky perhaps if this is, your second or third child.
We've got older siblings.
And the old one, wants to play with the little Lego around, or if you were in my house when my youngest was 3 months old, the older one, and there's only 16 months difference between them, decided to get a spoonful of peanut butter to feed her sister because she thought she was hungry.
Oh dear.
So accidents do happen.
Yeah.
So to help prevent choking, we need to cut up food into appropriate size pieces as well. So thinking of things like grapes, those big blueberries, cherry tomatoes, making sure that we actually chop them into quarters, because those spherical foods can easily lodge in an airway. Thinking about things like carrots and sausages, not slicing them into those lovely little discs, but thinking about cutting them into batons, because it's much easier for a child to be able to pick that up and gnaw on that and perhaps have a little bit of a gag, but not have that spherical object lodged in their airway. So we know to remove those little objects, we know to cut up the food into appropriate size pieces, but we also need to get your child to sit down to eat.
Yes.
Easy when they're little, not a problem.
My little ones love running around and dancing and trying to eat at the same time.
Exactly. But what we find is that when kids have objects in their mouth and they're running around, that they can stumble and down that goes. So it's really important that we do try and get them to sit down to eat. Good luck if you've got a toddler. But the other thing that we need to do is also keep them in our direct line of sight. It can be really, really tempting just to leave them comfortable in the high chair with just a little piece of Vegemite toast.
Buy you some time.
Exactly. Just go and have a 2-minute shower. But choking can be silent. That's why it's really important that we actually do keep them in our direct line of sight when they are eating.
Yes.
So what do you do if your child is choking? Now, first of all, if your child has what we call a strong, effective cough, so they're able to take a nice big breath in and then a really strong cough out, then we just encourage them to keep coughing. Their body's natural reflex is helping them to dislodge this object. Obviously, it's not completely obstructing their airway because they can get air in. Exactly. Because if we come along and give them a nice big whack on the back whilst they're taking that big breath in, we can potentially dislodge that object and they can inhale it further down. So it's really important that we encourage them to keep coughing. But if they have an ineffective cough, so it's just a
Right.
or they're silent, which is the really scary one.
Yeah.
We need to intervene, and we are going to do back blows and chest thrusts. And of course, we're going to call an ambulance to come and assist us as well.
Yeah.
However, if your child does become unconscious, then it's really important that you start doctors A, B, C, D. And if you're wondering what that is, they're the steps to ascertaining whether or not somebody needs CPR and then actually doing it. So it's really important that we remember. If they have a strong, effective cough, we encourage them to keep coughing. If they have an ineffective cough or they're silent, we're going into back blows and chest thrusts. And of course, if they are unconscious, we're going through doctors A, B, C, D.
Yes. Wow. And it's, you don't ever want to imagine yourself in that situation, but it does happen. And it just reinforces the importance of doing something like a CPR Kids course, because, this is a potentially life-saving information.
It is.
Thank you for sharing. I will be making sure, because, and sorry, I do want to mention, Sarah, even for toddlers, the older kids, we tend to think they go out of that stage, but even cutting up in small pieces for the older kids as well.
Yeah, it is true. So, an example. My oldest child, she is the safety officer. She is like me. She will sit down, she will take one grape, she'll pop it in her mouth, she will chew it and swallow it. So I actually stopped chopping up her grapes when she went to primary school. She was able to do that. My youngest one is a cyclone.
Right.
So she will shove a handful of food in her mouth. She'll run around, she'll do all of that. I wanted to keep chopping her foods probably until about the age of 21, but it just goes to say that you need to think about the personality of your child as well, so it can be different for everyone.
That's so very true. I think I've got one of each. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Pleasure.